What's going on, guys? Will's Garage here. In this video I'm going to be installing the Vantrue N4 dash cam on my M5 and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Alright guys, so the camera I'm going to be installing today is the Vantrue N4. Let's unbox this. As you can see here, this looks like it's a front-facing camera with the inside camera right here. Mounting hardware. Real quick. In addition to this, I picked up the dash cam hardware kit. 16 bucks. Some wiring and some fuse taps right here. Basically everything that you would need. Alright, so this is the suction cup and the main front camera and inside camera piece. How it works is there's a suction cup that you put up against the front windshield, and there's wiring inside of this suction cup piece right here. So the main wiring and power that comes from the car would go through this USB port here, and it will connect to the camera through these connectors, as you can see here. So it just snaps right on, and you would hook it up against the front windshield, lock the suction cup, and that's how it works. There's one other thing I want to point out. If you look on the side of the camera right here, there's a port that's labeled rear. That is where you plug in the cabling that goes to the rear camera. And this is what the cabling looks like. The USB-C portion goes into the camera, and the other end is routed all the way to the rear of the car. So I'm going to have those two wires routed from the front-facing camera and the suction cup. I'm going to hide those wires under the headliner in the front here, down the A-pillar, and down into the weather strip, all the way down into the glove box area right here. In order to make it easier to hide the wiring, you can pop out the side panel next to the glove box. Okay, I'm going to start off routing the power cable first. So I'm going to tuck it up under the headliner here. And you could just tug a little bit down on the headliner, and you can very easily feel it out to push the wire up underneath there. It doesn't take much effort at all. Alright, so here's a little tip. I took the supplied trim pry bar that Vantrue provides, and I stuck the pry bar piece in here. Just makes a little room in the A-pillar, and that's just enough to allow me to push a wire underneath, as you can see here. Then when you get around the corner right here, it's a little tough to get this portion in, so it's helpful if you have an extra piece of trim removal tool, just to jam it in from this side and this side, just to make extra room to squish the wiring in. Once you get to the corner of the weather stripping, this is what it looks like. Hold on, get that light. It's tucked right under there, so I'm just gonna hide it underneath this weather stripping right here. There's no need to remove the weather stripping. There's plenty of room to tuck it underneath. So I'm gonna tuck it underneath all the way down to the glove compartment. But before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and route the cabling that goes to the rear camera first. And I'm going to route it the same way underneath the headliner and up around the A-pillar. Alright, so I got both wires lined up underneath this headliner through this A-pillar here and underneath this weather stripping intersection here. I have the charge wire coming down this way to the glove box, and I have the rear view camera wire routed underneath the weather stripping, and I'm going to continue to put it hide it underneath here all the way back through this B pillar and then all the way back to the rear section of the car. Here's a little close-up action of what's going on here. Just putting the pry bar in here. Just give it some room and just simply tuck the wire in underneath. Sorry, I know it's hard to see, but I only got two hands. As you can see, the wire is tucked underneath the B pillar and hidden behind the weather sealing here. Alright guys, so I have the cable routed down behind the weather sealing on the rear door here, and ideally I wanted to mount the camera right against the rear window, but unfortunately my car has a rolling sunscreen in the back and I'd like to continue using that, so I don't want to have the camera get in the way of it. To mitigate this, I'm going to mount the camera on the back side of the headrest. And in order to do that, I'm going to have the wiring come down towards the rear of the seat, and I tuck the wire in behind the seat. You can still see a little bit right here, but I'm going to try to continue squishing it in to hide the wire. And there's quite a lot of excess wiring. I'm just going to tie it up and hide it behind the headrest. Alright, so here's another view of the rear camera mounted on the rear headrest, and I just have the extra wiring sandwiched underneath the headrest here. And now for the final part, I'm going to come back to the front and finish routing the power wire all the way down to the glove box. For my case, I decided to route it all the way down to the footwell to plug it into the cigarette lighter port in the footwell. But if you prefer, you can tap into the fuse box, which is located behind the glove box. This was actually my original plan, but after finding out that the F10 model has a cigarette lighter port in the footwell, I decided on using that instead. But here's a look at where the fuse box is, and here's also a diagram of it. If it were me, I probably would have tried tapping into fuse number 54, since that's one of the cigarette lighter fuses. So I already put this plastic piece back on, but earlier I routed down to the very bottom, and you can't see it here because the wire's hidden, but I routed all the way back underneath this plastic trim. You can see it popping out right here. I have it hidden under the floor mat, and I routed it, and there's a little bit of wire remaining. I just tied it up, and you could just hide this underneath the floor mat, but I decided to put it into this little convenient netting piece right here, and plugged it right up into the cigarette lighter. The Vantrue has this blue light thing here, which I don't mind, but if you do, you can just put a piece of black electrical tape over the top and it'll just cover that light up. and it's pretty much out of the way. For the most part, when you have a passenger sitting in the seat, their foot most likely won't even hit this upper left hand area, so it's pretty much up and out of the way. So yeah, that's it for the wiring part. Let's plug everything up and test out the camera. All right, so I have the camera set up, and as you can see, the wiring's all hidden. It's not visible at all. We're gonna test it out. All right, so that's it for the dash cam install video. Once again, this is the Vantrue N4 system. It's the all-in-one front, rear, and inside camera. The wiring is not so hard at all. This is my first time wiring a dash cam in a car, and total time that it took me, including recording, was about 2 to 2.5 hours. If I wasn't recording, it probably would take me about an hour to an hour and a half, and that's with taking my time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it very helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.